Hi everyone. As promised, I'm here to deliver a short presentation on the process of application for higher studies in public health in the UK. Once again, I apologize that due to audio issues, I wasn't able to interact with you in the webinar a few weeks ago, and I was really looking forward to that interaction actually, to have questions coming back and forth. But alas, this is something that we can do as well, where I walk you through with the help of this presentation on the process of application for higher studies in public health in the UK, and tell you about some resources, some scholarships, and so on. You can come back to me with questions on my LinkedIn, as I've shared towards the end of the presentation. And I believe this is a good opportunity to have a standalone video which could be shared across the network to whoever that will find this helpful. So let's get cracking. So as you can see on the slide, there are essentially 3 steps to securing a place or to go actually and study in the UK, so to speak. It would start with gathering your documents and doing your own research. Well, let's start with doing your own research. Well, the first step for anyone who is just having this seedling of an idea to pursue higher studies in the UK in public health is to imagine yourself studying a master's course. Let's say it is MPH, or some other niche course like MSc Global Mental Health or Health Policy Planning and Financing, the one that I did. So first of all, do your own research. Google is your good friend here, where you can just search for reputed universities. Maybe start with LSHTM, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. You can also look at University of Edinburgh. You can also look at London School of Economics, University College London, and so on and so forth. You can do your own research in terms of the universities that are there and offer either MPH and the different streams therein, or other niche courses. So once you've done your research, what you can also do on the university webpage, which are, I would say, not very complicated, is that you can have an idea of the requirements, the admission procedure, the timelines, and so on. So after you've done your own research, I advise you come back to this video then, because what I'm going to do is walk you through those processes, so that it'll be much more easier to understand. But I highly recommend doing your own research, doing your own reading on the university websites for these master's courses yourself, so that this video acts as a supplement and the whole process becomes much more efficient. So let's say that you decided to do MPH with the Health Economics stream from LSHTM. If you go onto the website of LSHTM, you'll come across the eligibility, the requirements, the admission procedure, the fees and funding, or the scholarships options. But then if you are someone who's looking at some other course in the UK at another university in public health, the procedure will more or less look like the same. Essentially what you will need is something called your statement of purpose, your SOP. You will also need your CV. You will need your transcripts for your earlier degrees that you have done. You'll need your IELTS scorecard. You will need your reference letters, 2 reference letters. Let me walk you through each one of them one by one. Well, I would start by saying that these are all the inputs to your application, any application you make to any university in the UK. But then, amongst all of these things that I've just mentioned, I want you to focus on 2 things, which are your own creation, which reflect who you are, which actually help you to stand out in the number of applications that so many people make. Those 2 things are your statement of purpose and your CV. So, a statement of purpose is a document. It's usually 2 pages long in a Microsoft Word standard formatting document. But some universities might specify that they need certain number of words or certain number of pages, less or more than 2. But a standard SOP is 2 pages. So in those 2 pages, what you are expected to write in your SOP is your journey of your professional journey of what are the educational achievements that you have made, what are the professional achievements you have made to this date, and how those experiences and educational experiences have informed your decision to do this master's course, which you're currently doing. Why do you want to do this course? Why specifically from this university, from this country? And lastly, the third part is, what do you intend to do with this degree after you have finished it? So essentially, an SOP has 3 broad parts which you need to address. One is your journey thus far and how it has motivated you to make this decision to do this course, and why this course at this university. And then finally, what you intend to do with this course or degree going forward. Normally, what the universities are looking for is a number of things. Well, of course, you need to have done some relevant degrees. For example, if you have done MD PSM, then that is good because it is a higher or a master's degree already in the field of public health. But then, even if you have done an engineering course, a BE in the Bachelor's of Engineering in something, or a BBA or an MBA or any course for that matter, you can still apply for all of these courses if you are able to justify what in those previous educational experiences and professional experiences have motivated you to do this MPH, health economics stream, for example, and what you intend to do with it. So as long as you're able to justify your journey thus far and going forward, you're good. So what they're looking for is a relevant background, a justified relevant background, I should say, and your motivation, your enthusiasm, and your future planning. So you should stand out as a person who is not doing this advanced degree just for the heck of it. You should stand out as a person who's doing this advanced course at their university with a purpose. And when you have a purpose, you are more likely to succeed in their future endeavors. And like any other university, they would like to then associate with you or to select you in this course so that when you succeed in the future, then you bring good name to them as well. So that's that incentive, basically, of skimming the cream. So that's your SOP. If I were to choose one thing out of the many inputs that go into your application, then I would say that is the main thing. That's why I've spent so much time describing that. That's your SOP. Then is your CV. It's up to you how you want to format it, but you all know what a CV looks like. But just try to make it professional. Try to read some online resources on how you can format your CV in a good way, etc., etc. And CV should act as a complement to your SOP, and your SOP should not be a repetition of what has already been mentioned in the CV. So you could say that SOP is a narrative of the CV with much more character, and it reflects who you are as a person. And CV is a much more objective, bulleted document, just listing what you have done thus far. But the two complement each other and should not include a lot of repetition. So those are your 2 central pillars of your applications. Then after that are just the technicalities. For instance, you need your transcripts. Transcripts are just like degrees. They are a combination of, let's say, your degree and your mark sheet into one document. It should be endorsed by your university. And I don't think that there should be a big problem procuring your transcripts. You just should need to speak to your university at the earliest on the application procedure, the timelines, etc., to gather your transcripts. If you have just done your bachelor's degree thus far, then a transcript of your undergrad degree. If you have finished your master's, then a transcript of both the degrees, your undergrad and your master's. Then comes your IELTS score sheet. IELTS is the English language test that you need to perform at a certain standard so that the university in UK can know that you are able to read, write, listen, and speak in English to a certain proficiency level so that you can live, learn, and undertake this degree at a good level. I would say that it should not be a big problem or a hurdle for anyone to take IELTS to the minimum standard. I guess for studying in UK, the minimum band score that you need to have is 6.5 in each of the 4 domains of listening, reading, writing, and speaking out of 9. But it does take, let's say, a month or 2 months of practice, on the types of questions that come on the exam of IELTS. It's a separate exam you need to book on the IELTS website online. The fee is around 15 to 20,000. Might have changed, so you should look into the updated fee for the exam. You book your slot, then you give your exam, then they give your score sheet, and that becomes one of your inputs into the application. But again, as I said, it is just a technicality. Then reference letters. You need to have 2 reference letters. Some of the universities want both of them to be from a person who has supervised you in a work environment, or some of them want both of them to be educational references, like the head of your department or the dean of your college. And some of them are okay with having one professional reference letter and the other to be an educational reference letter, academic. But then again, when you do your own research, like I mentioned in the first few minutes of the video, you can get more information on the various universities and what they require. Basically, you need 2 reference letters. Sometimes they even need 3. But then the way to go about them is, for instance, if you had worked under the head of the department of a, let's say medicine or some other, if you are from other background, you worked with them, they have supervised a project for you, you can reach out to this professor, this person, and you should tell them at the earliest, dear sir or madam, I am intending to apply to this course at this university, which requires me to submit a reference letter. Would you be kind enough to write one for me? And more often than not, I would say in all of the cases, everyone agrees to do this thing because, why wouldn't they want to help you grow in your career? So, but then you should reach out to your potential referees as early as possible because it takes time, to go back and forth. It takes time. And they need to submit this reference directly to the universities when the universities provide them with a link. And that's part of your application procedure. So don't worry about it. When you write your application, and you mention, Dr. So-and-so is your referee and their email, a unique link gets sent to their email address, and then they click on it and then they write a reference for you. So I would say these are all the inputs for your application procedures. Just to come back to the central point, focus on your SOP and CV because those are the 2 central pillars which make you stand out, which make you excel amongst all the candidates who are applying for this same degree at the same university. So focus on them, and it takes a lot of time to develop those documents also. But you need to also at the same time address other technicalities, your transcripts, reference letters, and IELTS. All right, so I think that's about it. If you can focus on all these things with the timeline, which I'm just going to share with you in a second, then you should be good. The third step, as you can see on the slide, is the visa application. But once you secure your admission, the visa application is again another technicality where you need to go through some medical tests like chest x-ray, etc. as part of the requirement for immigration in the UK. You are given a CAS form, which is the conditional acceptance letter. And then with the help of these 2 inputs, which is this medical examination, your CAS form, and other, stipulated documents, you apply for a student visa, and it's very self-explained procedure. You get a lot of support from the universities once you have been accepted at them. So I would say don't worry about those at the moment. At the moment, for a person who is starting to think about the securing a place in one of these universities in UK, start to think about what 2 or 3 courses at those 2 or 3 or maybe the same university you want to do, and then based on that course, start writing your SOP, which is also called cover letter or statement of intent, and also start framing your CV in a very professional manner, and also look at their websites for the application procedures, which are usually more or less the same. You create your account, and then they ask you several questions like name, date of birth, nationality, passport number, previous educational qualification, professional qualifications, and now upload your CV, upload your IELTS result, upload your transcripts, upload your SOP, write the name of your 2 referees with their email addresses, submit the application fee, and then submit the application form. Then you wait for a few months, then you get their decision whether you are accepted or not. If you do get accepted, then comes the visa application. So I think this is a very broad overview, good explanation of the whole procedure. But then you should start with your own research. Then comes the timeline. Now, I've mentioned a bunch of months here. Now is February 2023. So I would say that if you want to secure admission in 2024, so the courses, master's courses in the UK start in September every year, right? So for this September 2023, I'm afraid that the decisions on the admissions have been made. The visa processes have already started. The deadlines have been crossed. So you cannot enter September 2023. But then for September 2024, you are perfectly poised, all of you who are listening to this video in February or even in March, let's say. And I want you to start with looking at the inputs to your applications, which I discussed in the previous slide. So let's say you start securing your transcripts, you reach out to the universities for them, you've booked your IELTS test, you've started preparing for the IELTS test, you've started writing your SOPs, and you're drafting your CVs. Then let's say you are finished with all of these inputs by September, October. That's where they start accepting the applications. So the whole procedure starts roughly about a year prior to the actual admission. So September, they start taking in applications. You make your application in September, but you can do so as late as January or even, in some cases February. But then that's the limit. But then it helps to make this application as soon as possible. So once you've made your application, you just sit tight and wait for their decision, which comes usually by January to March, or maybe even before. And some people even receive, if they've made an earlier applications, they receive their decision in December.
So this is Dr. Rubina here from the other side. I think around 100 participants or more have been participated in this webinar. I think around 50 of them might be thinking of going abroad and taking their step ahead in the public health expertise. And I hope this webinar has helped them in a great way. I would like to thank both of them from the bottom of my heart for such an eye-opening session, and would love to collaborate with them in the future. We are pleased to inform that we are planning to host family medicine and pedagogy webinars in the future, and this will help in knowing about what family medicine is to the people who are interested in family medicine, maybe the people who are doing MBBS right now, or the people who are enrolled in the subject of community and family medicine, or those who want to take family medicine in their future as a subject. So I hope those webinars will help you. Rest about the pedagogy. I've heard from a lot of feedbacks that are coming that you all need a pedagogy session. I agree that pedagogy is really important for the postgraduate students, and I hope we are planning to conduct those sessions in the future.